and he is going to be climbing Everest here soon. And he's doing it. His goal is to do it without supplemental oxygen. So he's got a lot on his plate, but
Yes.
you are the wife at home. You
Yep.
are the one who is probably sitting by your phone doing a lot of worrying. Tell me how you are adjusting to all this and how you are coping.
You know, I want to say that I'm coping pretty well. I am. I've told friends and family that I've kind of treated this trip as I would one of his deployments. And I've been through 2 deployments with him as a couple, which were about 5 to 6 months each. And of course, those are dangerous endeavors. But then for me, staying busy, I work full time. We don't have children, so, I don't have, that responsibility. But I think for me, it's keeping a level head in the sense that, like, I know he's smart. I know he won't push it. He won't be irresponsible because I know that's what kind of person he is. And I'm also not wanting to be the wife who is preventing him from achieving these dreams that he has, because it brings him so much joy and accomplishment. So if I was one of those people to hold him back, if I would have said, no, I don't want you to go, I know that would have been hard on him. And then in turn, like, I probably would have regretted that. So I want him to do all these big things that he loves to do because he loves it so much. And so, yeah, I think overall keeping that frame of mind is, I won't say that it's easy, because I do go through bouts of like being worried and concerned, and but he's not one to hide things from me either. Sometimes, especially on deployments, like, ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, you can let your brain, create stories. So I've learned that it's better for him to tell me the things that are not going great, just so I can, like, not create those, what ifs in my head. So
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to keep communication with him right now, or is it just through his inReach, or what's that like at this point?
Yeah, right now, when he's at base camp, as long as I forgot what they call that card that you can buy so you can, text abroad, but he has Wi-Fi at base camp. So I am able to just, use the regular iPhone texting.
Okay.
And when he is beyond that, he'll use his inReach just to text like, hey, we're here. I wasn't expecting to hear from him much on that 10-day acclimatization climb that they did to Camp 3, but periodically I would hear on the inReach, like, we're at camp, I'm sleeping, get ready to go to bed, hope you had a good day. So it's just nice to, have a bit of communication, but it's not ongoing. He's 12 hours ahead. So it's like when I'm starting work, he's going to bed. So we don't talk much. A 10-day acclimatization. Wow. That makes it sound a little more intense than I thought it was. I know. And I don't know
wild.
if every acclimatization schedule is like that. It just, for them, that's what they had planned out. So
for sure. So what was it like when Jason came to you and pitched you this idea, or is that not how it happened? Like, did you ever consider going with him? Did you think he was crazy? How did this all shake out from the beginning?
I'm not one to say anyone, especially my husband, is crazy unless, I'm joking. But the first time he brought it up, I think it was when we were doing, or maybe ending our Everest Base Camp trek, because we went in 2018 just to backpack there. Okay. And I think he said something along the lines of, like, I need to come back here. I want to climb that. And at the time, he wasn't a mountaineering instructor here in Colorado. We were stationed at Fort Bragg. He was on a special forces team. And I was like, yeah, kind of whatever. Like, I didn't say no, and I didn't say he was crazy, but I kind of like didn't believe it either. I was like, okay, this is another one of Jason's big things. Nope, pun intended with the podcast, but so I kind of just like, this is another one of Jason's things, and kind of didn't hear about it for a while. And then when he came to the school here, became an instructor, and met someone during the Moab 240 who he's climbing with, it became more of like a realization, like, okay, this could happen, and he is well trained enough to make this happen. But my main concern, maybe because I'm the daughter of like a banker, that I was like, oh my God, this is so much money. And like, how are we going to do this? So that was my main concern. Still thinking it wasn't actually going to happen. And with the military, taking leave, like it's not always granted. So in the back of my mind, it's like the hurry up and wait thing that you hear about, you know, being the military or military spouse. It's like nothing's ever for certain until it happens. So that was kind of my frame of mind. I was like, okay, I'm not even going to worry about this or think about this until it happens. And it was probably like only a couple of weeks before he was ready to leave that I was like, oh crap, like this is actually happening. So, but again, like he loves these challenges, and I love being the support for my friends and family who take on these amazing things, because it's exciting for me too. But I can't say that I had some reservations about it. Like I was nervous. We have some family members who their immediate reaction was like, this is stupid. Like, why would you even consider that with or without oxygen? And he is attempting without. So he got a lot of pushback from family, not a lot from family, but some, and definitely people who just feel like they can freely say whatever they want on social media. Like, this is stupid. Like, he's active duty. Like, he shouldn't be doing this. Like, stuff like that. So for myself, I wasn't about to say no, because I know these are dreams that he has, and this is a big one. But it, like I said, it didn't become real until right before he flew out.
For sure.
So,
so how long have you guys been married? Or besides married, how long have you guys known each other? I guess that's what I want to know.
We met almost exactly 10 years ago. Okay. We met in June of 2012. And sorry, my dog is in the background, so if you hear him chewing.
Okay.
But anyway, but we got married in, actually our anniversary was on Monday, so 8 years ago.
Okay.
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, you guys met at a Spartan race. Is that right?
Did.
Okay.
And I love telling the story because it's like, let me back up. So we met up our packets for this race. And I used to live in Portland, Oregon, before I met him. And it happened to be my last day of work, last day of school. And I was in a rush to pick up my packet at a local running store because the race was the following day. And then I was going to go to a beginning of summer teacher party. So I was like in a rush. My head was not like, oh, I'm going to meet some guy in line. So we're like in line, and the Spartan race staff were walking around, because if you're going to have a, people coming to view you race, they have to sign a waiver just to be on the course. So someone was walking around saying, do you need a waiver? Do you need a waiver? And at the time, like I was just going with some friends, like we didn't have any people coming to watch us. So I said no. And this guy in front of me, which happens to be Jason, turned around and said something like, you don't have any spectators? Like, and I kind of took it out. I was like, what a jerk. Like, why is he asking me if I'm like having a spectator? No, I'm just going with friends. So we ended up talking. After that, the line was like 30, 45 minutes long. We went our separate ways because it's organized by last name. And I was single at the time. And apparently he was. And I am not one to take big chances, especially when it comes to like meeting a random guy.
Right.
But when I picked up my packet, I walked out and I was like, that guy was like really nice. Like maybe I should just like pretend like I'm standing on my phone texting somebody and wait for him to come out. So that's what I did. So I was like standing on the sidewalk, like pretending I was texting my friends when I wasn't. And he was like, oh, you're still here. I was like, yep, I'm still here. So he was in town from, he was living in Colorado at the time, and he had road trip to Portland from Colorado with his youngest sister. And he was like, hey, we're in town for a couple nights. And, after the race, if you're interested in going to get dinner with me and my sister, we don't eat seafood very often. So do you know of a seafood place? And we met up after the race, and kind of the rest is history.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Portland?
No, I grew up in a suburb of San Francisco in California in the Bay Area.
Okay.
I actually went to high school in San Francisco. So the suburb was literally like on the southern border of San Francisco.
Okay.
And I chose to go to the University of Oregon for college. And that's how I ended up there.
Gotcha. What was your home life like in California? How did you grow up?
I tell my friends and Jason all the time, I lived a very charmed, privileged life. And I have no qualm saying that because I'm very aware. My parents were happily married for nearly 45 years. My sister and I, we're only 14 months apart. She's younger. And we played all the sports. We had all the museums and zoos at our fingertips. We had a family cabin in Northern California in the Redwoods we would go to during the summer, and very calm, peaceful, fun, I say, like quintessential American family. And I had a lot of fun. I loved growing up there. My dad is still there. I grew up going to 12 years of Catholic school, and I got to 12th grade and I was like, I am done. Moved to Oregon and went to public college.
You were done with Catholic school or done with
done with
California,
Catholic school. And I'm not necessarily done with California because California is near and dear to my heart, but I was ready for a change. And my dad and I, junior year of high school, drove around the Northwest. My dad went to Seattle University, so he was like hoping I would go there. And I ended up on Oregon's campus, and I was like, this is it. I want the big school. I want the football team. Like, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Outdoorsy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And did you go to school to be a teacher? Was that the plan all along?
That it was always in the back of my mind, but it wasn't the plan. My grandmother was a teacher. My mom, though she wasn't a trained teacher, she always like worked in our schools as an aide or in the office. So I think I didn't want to go the teaching route because they were the teachers in the family. So I actually went to school for family and human services. So I thought I was going to go into like social work or nonprofit work. And that is a part of the School of Education at the University of Oregon. So when I graduated, I ended up working for a nonprofit for children with emotional and behavioral disorders, which is hard. I did that for a few years, and I ended up working at a day treatment program, which is basically a classroom for high needs behavior and emotional behavioral disorders of kids ages 6 to 12. And I got to the point where I was like, I want the teacher's job. I didn't want to be the social worker part. I didn't want to, it just wasn't my plan. So I went and got my master's at Lewis and Clark.
Was
College.
it a stressful environment, or why did you want out of there?
Yes, it was stressful. And I never felt like I was making any like headway with the kids.
That's tough.
And it was so heartbreaking and I was very good at like not bringing the work home or the stories home. But after a while, it's just like, you can't change how these kids have grown up. And I only see them till age 12. And then it was like, well, what happens then to them later? Right. Or they age out of foster care. And it's like, what happens to them after that? It was just really heavy. And I felt like I wasn't fulfilled. Let's put it that way. I know some people are very drawn to that. And I have a lot of friends who are social workers, and bless them for going that route because they are much needed, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more creativity. I wanted to see kids like the light bulb light up when they get something. And I just have very fond memories myself being in school. I loved school. I loved my teachers. And I think that's why I consider myself a good teacher, because I haven't forgotten what it's like to be in school. Yeah. And so.
Cool. Cool. Your parents, are they still together? Are they still both around?
Yeah, my mom passed away a couple of years ago, but yes, they were together when she passed away. Yeah, they got married in 1977, and yeah, they were together until her end. So, oh no, you still there?
Oh, I'm still here. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, that's okay. I don't know if it was our internet or yours, but
I've been having issues. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. I don't know where I left off, but
they got married in 1970 something.
77. And I was born in 78. And yeah, they were together until she passed away in February of 2020.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you this. This is probably, this is a weird kind of out there question, but like having parents that had such a successful marriage, did that put a big, how do I ask this? Did that put like a lot of pressure on you, or did that give you a false sense of what marriage really is, or did it make it seem easy so that when you got married and the hard times came, you're like, whoa, this is how it is?
I think it's kind of a combination of both. I think that's a really good question. My parents, their marriage in retrospect seemed easy. As a child, they weren't ones to like argue around us. If they did argue, it wasn't like anything big or major, or ones that my sister and I would consider like, you know, oh my gosh, they're going to break up or divorce. Like it never felt like that. In my adult life, I never took what I learned from their marriage to be pressure on my relationships. I took it as like, oh, this is how good people communicate. This is how good partners are able to share tasks at home, how one spouse could support the other. Like I always took it as, I guess now, as learning of what a good relationship looks like and sounds like. I have had relationships where, I mean, like we all have, that haven't worked out. But being with Jason and him being, you know, has strong opinions. He's not afraid to express himself. I felt like my mother and I were very similar. We're just more passive, and not that it was a bad thing in their relationship, but I also wasn't used to seeing my mom maybe express like disappointment or anger. So now being with someone who is able to do that, I've learned quite a bit. And in a sense, it's been kind of a shock of like, yeah, marriage is hard. It's not as easy as how my parents made it look. Yeah.
Yeah. I am experiencing that as well. I mean, I have a wonderful relationship with my wife, but we've only been married for a short time, and my parents are still successfully married. And it's like, yeah, how the hell did you guys do it for so long? It's totally insane.
A long time. It's insane. And we just hit year 8, and I mean, as you know, I'm sure, like, we want to kill each other sometimes. And I'm sure he just like gets so frustrated with me, and as I get frustrated with him, but it's like, we know that commitment is there. And we've both been in prior marriages. That's a whole nother story. I should write a memoir about that. Cause like I met Jason only a few months after that one ended. And we met when we were older. So that's another thing. We met when we were older.
Yes.
And I think we kind of knew, maybe subconsciously what we wanted and what we didn't want.
Yeah. So that's a big one right there, is having some age underneath your belt and knowing who you are, and having made those tough decisions, and you know, sort of stuck your flag in the things that matter and don't matter. And that's huge. That's a big part of it right there.
Yeah. I realized I wasn't willing to compromise on certain things, or you know, like in the sense that like, I hesitate to say like, listen to your gut, but I should have that first relationship. Like it wasn't a bad relationship by any means. Like it wasn't, it didn't end in a terrible way or anything, and it ended amicably. But at the same time, it's like, I met Jason, I realized like, oh, like my world was like expanded. I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is how it should be. Like right from the get-go, which, you know, put me on guard a bit, because I was like, it can't be this good all the time. Like, you know, and it's not, but there's something special that I realize in my relationship with Jason now that I didn't have before. And I wish I would have maybe taken some time to consider some things before getting married at age, I think I was 26.
Okay.
And that seems very young to me now.
Yeah, it does. But, you know, my parents got married way younger than that, and they still survived for forever. So
yeah, it works for sure. But
yeah. Well, Jason, you know, I've never met him, but talked to him a handful of times, and of course had him on the show. And he seems to me like someone with very strong morals and kind of a good old boy with probably a good, strong family upbringing as well.
Yeah.
So that can't hurt in a relationship.
No.
Yeah. So that's
Absolutely.
all positive.
Yep, for sure.
So what else were you doing? When you went to college, eventually got married, but anything else going on in your life? Interests, hobbies? Were you exercising in those days? Because like I see pictures of you running up and down the incline in Colorado in Manitou Springs. So were you always athletic?
I was always athletic. My mom threw me and my sister into, Parks and Rec dance when I was like 3 or 4. And even then I was like, no, this is not for me. I always from 4th grade on played volleyball, soccer, basketball, got to high school, played volleyball. And then I went to a Catholic prep school, and it just, turned out that once volleyball season was over, it was like, well, what do I do now? And they had a rowing team that like no one rows before high school. Like that's not something people do. So they were trying to recruit like other athletes. And I was like, oh, I'll just try this out. And I was hooked. I quit volleyball. I rowed all 4 years in high school. I went to college, and it wasn't a Division I sport at Oregon at the time. It was a club sport. So I did that my first year. But I'm kind of, I won't say I'm just short and kind of petite, and most rowers, good rowers, are tall, lean, and very few programs have, I classify as lightweight. So not many programs had lightweight programs at the time. But yeah, I always participated in sports. And then I got to college, and when I was done with rowing, I am living in Eugene, Oregon. It's just stunning. Like I learned how to rock climb. I took a rock climbing class, and then of course hiking. And then upon graduating and moving to Oregon, I had a college boyfriend relationship that ended suddenly. And I'm the type of person that's like, I'm not going to sit around and mope. I need to figure out something else to do. So on a whim, I told my roommate at the time, I'm like, I'm just going to register for a marathon, because if I do it, then I can't like back out. And she was like, you're going to run a marathon. I was like, yeah, I need something. So yeah, I was 23 and ran the Portland Marathon. And then that was, subsequent years, I was a runner in my 20s.
Okay.
And then I met Jason, and anyway, long story short, I got into lifting, very little running the last 10 years or so. Now Jason's into running, and I'm the other way. So,
so you're doing more lifting now, and he's doing more endurance stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. So your first marathon was Portland Marathon?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that was, a while ago.
Did you have any natural talent? Did it come easy for you? Did you really have to work for it?
No, I would say, I wasn't like placing like Jason does in the races he does by any means, but I think running just for like my body type, and of course, like in sports, I always ran for cardiovascular fitness because the coaches made us.
For sure.
But I think running for me came easy. And even now, like I think Jason had mentioned during the 240, I paced him the last 18 miles. I think, bodies have a memory, and I did train throughout the summer, kind of nervous about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't run beyond, I don't know, 5 miles in a decade. Spent all summer training, and yeah, it went fine. So
nice.
I'm definitely not as competitive as he is, but I enjoy it when I finally commit to doing something.
Yeah. Was that your one and only marathon, or did you keep going with that? Or
I also did the San Francisco Marathon. I've done the Seattle, and I had registered for New York, and I got injured, which I think that was probably 2008 or so. And I just had injury after injury. And looking back now, I know I wasn't fueling correctly. I probably wasn't doing all these other mobility and, lifting kind of things that would have prevented or improved what was going on. So I think if I was to train now for something seriously, I would take it totally differently. But yeah, I just got tired of injury after injury. And at the time, a friend of mine was like, hey, I know you need something different because running's not working for you. Have you heard about this thing called CrossFit? And I was like, what are you talking about? This is like when CrossFit was starting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, on a whim, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this gym and try it out. Loved it. CrossFit now. The gym I went to disaffiliated from CrossFit in 2010 or 11. They just became like a lifting gym. So I've been lifting since, mostly.
So that's your thing. Yeah.
That's my thing. Yeah. And I go through seasons. Sometimes it's hypertrophy, like bodybuilding. Sometimes it's like, I want to lift as heavy as possible. Sometimes it's just 2 days a week so I can get out on the trails and run or hike. So it depends on the season, how much and what I've chosen to do.
Okay.
But yeah.
And what's this season right now? Like what are you up to most recently? Are you spending a lot of time in the gym?
Yeah. So I'm about 4 to 5 days a week. We have a home gym here in the garage.
Okay.
I am in a hypertrophy phase right now. So bodybuilding, Jason has talked about this too. He and I have similar body types where we respond really well to that kind of training.
Okay.
It's super high volume. I love it. I love being sore. But as soon as like the weather is nicer here, I think I'm going to ease back on that and focus more on, I say I'm going to do a trail race. Jason would be beside himself with joy if I decided to do something like that, but I haven't committed to that yet. So we'll see, but I am on the incline about once a week.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And so Jason looks like a bigger guy. So I'm guessing he spent a lot of time in the gym over the years, but not most recently, he's doing a lot of endurance stuff.
Yeah.
Is that how it was? Was he in the gym a lot first and then eventually discovered endurance, or is that how it worked for him? I don't remember exactly.
That's exactly how it was. When I met him, he was very much, I mean, some running at the time, but I think it was just kind of like a side thing. Lifting. He's always been a lifter. So when I see his body type now, I'm like, oh my God. I was looking back on pictures around our anniversary on Monday. I was like, oh my God, he looks like a completely different person now.
He looks
just
way more
in the
lean
face,
now?
like super lean now.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he knows, I think he talked about how he had done, bodybuilding shows in the past, and he knows how to manipulate his diet without like tracking food. He knows how to change how he's exercising, lifting, running to get the outcome he desires, just because he's had so much experience with it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably have as well, right?
Yeah, but I haven't like dabbled as much in the type of training that he's, done himself, in the sense that, like, what did he say? He was eating like a crazy amount of calories per day just to like, he had to be a heavy gainer. And then for me, it's like, yeah, I've dabbled in that, but that's not how I want to spend my time. Like, I would much rather, go out and have dinner with friends and have beers or wine and not,
For sure. Yeah.
I just do it for feeling good, not to necessarily change what I look like.
Yeah. So it's more of a hobby or an interest or a passion for you rather than a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've dabbled in both, but I think I'm more balanced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good thing. I have so many people on the podcast who, sometimes on purpose have chosen to be unbalanced, and that's the way they have to be in order to be successful at the things that they're doing. And it's a decision that they made, but it's a tough one that sort of wreaks havoc on the rest of their life sometimes. So
yeah, absolutely. And the closest thing I've ever come to that, I think it was during one of Jason's deployments. I had spent a lot of time doing like hypertrophy bodybuilding just to like see like how big I can get. And women can't get big unless you eat a lot. And then I was like, I want to see what it would be like if I actually tracked my macros, like just to lean out a little bit. And it was more of just an experiment. I had time. It was summer. I wasn't teaching. Jason was gone. I was only cooking for myself. Like, that works. And I get why people do it, but I don't want my life to revolve around like a food scale.
Right.
And this much cardio, and like I have a lot of interest outside of lifting, outside of teaching. I still snowboard. I love to climb with Jason when I can. I love to climb 14ers. Like, I want to be able to do those things, and that's why I lift, to be able to do everything else.
Yeah. Well, that's a healthy way to look at it, and that's a healthy place to be. It's a good balance. So yeah, good decision.
Thanks.
So let's see what else. So eventually you married Jason. Was he in the teams when you guys got married?
No, he wasn't.
No.
He was almost. He was in the Q course. So the course that he had to graduate from to be able to be on a special forces team. Okay. So we met right before he was going to selection, which is when you get selected to go to the Q course. And then that's 2 to 3 years before you can even be on a team. So I've been with him through, the training. And then we ended up staying in North Carolina when that course was done for about 6 years. So then he was on the team then.
I'm curious, like what life was like in those days. I'm guessing that everything was kind of going into him and in that process. Was it stressful on you? Did your life sort of revolve around his life? I mean, it's a big deal, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy goes into that. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't, and Jason told me to be real on here. So I'm not going to like hold back on like how I was feeling about certain things at the time. Maybe I didn't express it to him at the time, but yeah, like it did revolve around him. But, I love him so much and loved him so much at the time that like I was willing to sacrifice certain things. So the first thing was like, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life in Oregon. Loved it, owned a house in Portland, had a great teaching job in a district that I loved with people that I loved, and met Jason, and things evolved so quickly that, I made the decision to quit my job in the middle of the year, which teachers generally do not do, to move to North Carolina and leave my home and my friends and my job behind for our relationship. And it was terrifying.
That is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, the first time I told him that I was considering it, I was just thinking out loud. And I think he took it to being excited that I was going to like make the decision to come. And then a few days later, I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. Like, I have this house here. What am I going to do? Do I rent it? Do I set? Like, he is very good at like having a goal and just like ignoring everything else, not everything else, but like pushing forward on that goal. Whereas I'm the kind of person who's like, what if this, what if this, what if this? And then it like paralyzes me. And at the time it paralyzed me. And I didn't think our relationship was going to make it then, because he took it to mean that I didn't want to be with him. And it wasn't that at all. It was more like fear of like leaving everything that I thought I was going to have forever. But eventually I made that decision, moved there, got a good new job right away. Jason, we ended up in North Carolina, and he like 3 days later had to go to like a 6-week course. And I was like in this new place, in a new house, just starting a new job, not knowing anybody. And he had no contact at all. So I was like, this was the first time in my life where I was like alone. And it was really easy in a short period of time to get a bit resentful. Because he wanted me there so badly, which I was grateful for, but it's like, he wanted me here and he's not even here.
Yeah.
But of course, like staying busy and teaching, meeting new people, like I had to go out on my own for the first time ever and actually put myself out there to make a life for myself when he wasn't around. Which now in retrospect was really good for me.
Okay.
So, but through the course, same things. It's like he's gone for days or weeks at a time, and I'm here taking care of the house, and we have dogs, and granted we don't have children, so I don't want to speak for every military spouse, because I have plenty of friends who are dealing with a lot more than me, so I don't want to be the voice of military spouses. But small things become big things over time. It's like a leak in the roof, I have to deal with it. Or it's like car problems, whatever. It's like them in and of itself is not like a big deal, but it's like when you are the sole person who has to like make these decisions or take care of these things or get the dogs to the vet, or, you know, if we had kids to the dog, you know, all that becomes like an emotional burden.
Totally.
So it's a lot. And so sometimes when he would come home, I would just unload, like, this stuff happened, and then this, and then this, and then he just wants to come home and like hang out, you know, be all great. And the main thing that me and my friends who are also military spouses talk about is, it's like when you need to have a hard conversation with your partner, you're always kind of on eggshells, because it's like, well, they're just coming back, so I don't want to unload on them yet, but then I don't want to unload on them before they leave, because that's going to affect their mission mindset. Yep. So it's like you kind of have to pick and choose, or, you know, tiptoe around some issues because it affects their job.
100%.
So that's been really challenging. Yeah.
Do you have a group of friends that are military spouses, or is there like a club, or like how does that work? Well, because I would guess you guys need to sort of lean on each other and ask each other, how do you do this?
Yes. And I'm really grateful that I married Jason being a special forces soldier, because that world is, what, from what I understand, very different from the quote unquote big army worlds.
Right.
They don't care at all what their ranks are. The spouses we don't even know what the ranks are. Like, we don't care. Like, we are a very small, tight group because they have to be. And we support each other because us supporting, meaning wives or spouses or partners, need to support each other, because when they're supported, their spouse is supported, and they can't be worried about what's going on at home while they're gone. So some of the closest friends I have now are the spouses, partners of the men that Jason has been on teams with. Yeah. Yeah.
And is that comfortable? I mean, do you get along with all of them?
I was lucky. Ours, yes. Like every girlfriend, spouse, partner, we did all get along. And I know that's not true of every team. Like, we just got lucky. Okay. Yeah. Wow. We were all really close. We were all like on the same text when the guys were gone. We always often got together when the guys were gone. I have babysit their children, watch their dogs, house sat, so they can do the things that they need and want to do when their partner is away. And I still do that here. One of a woman that I met in North Carolina, just at another acquaintance son's birthday party years ago, now lives in our neighborhood. So I go take care of her dogs. I babysit her kids when she needs to go, you know, to doctor's appointments or whatever. And her husband, though he's not deployed, is in he's also special forces, is in a course that has taken him away from home more months in the last year than he would have been when he was deployed. So that's kind of just what we do, because we know it's necessary.
Yeah.
And then we want to help each other.
For sure. I was never in the military, so like, forgive my naivete around all of this. And I don't know the proper etiquette for some of these questions and whatnot, but
that's okay. I didn't before either.
Yeah. Have you experienced tragedy or loss in your small group of friends, or the loss of you know, one of your the wives' spouses, or, you know, the guys on the team or whatever?
In being with Jason, no, I have not personally. There has been some close calls that I heard about after the fact, but no. I can't even imagine what that would, you know, be like. And I know Jason's lost a lot of friends in his career. But even there was I don't know if you knew about this, but they had a team accident. Someone on their team had a major fall this time last year. I think he fell about 40 to 50 feet climbing at a place nearby, and he had to be medevaced out. That's the closest that I've been to, like, holy crap, like, their job is dangerous. And they weren't even deployed. They were 30 miles away on a rock.
Just training.
You know?
Yeah.
just training. But yeah, I've been really, thankful that we have not had to endure that together.
Sure. Yeah.
So
yeah, like when I talk to Jason, just having a conversation with him, he seems like this alpha dude that's very fit and confident, and also probably like a gear junkie in the sense that he knows what he's doing outside, right? Like if he's going to go out training or go out on a mission, I just feel like he's going to be one of the safe guys that is looking out for his friends, and his friends are probably the same way, also looking out for him. But, you still hear the stories. I mean, like I said, I was never in the military. I just watch movies, right? All my information comes from the movies. And, so you watch American Sniper and all these other things, and shit happens. It happens to the strongest people out there, the most safe people out there. Accidents happen. And so, it's just got to be difficult to be in your position. And sure, he seems like the safest, toughest, strongest guy out there, but you just hope that it stays that way.
And the mountains don't care about you. So it's like, just like enemies don't care about you. Like, but I think that brings back to kind of like I don't know if we call it a motto in our relationship, but like we met by complete chance. So we are kind of applied to live is to chance. Living is taking chances to our relationship, in the sense that, like, we can go out on a limb and do these amazing things and make great stories. But the other side of that is, like, sometimes awful things happen and there's nothing that you can do about it. And that's just kind of how life is. Unfortunately, not to say that won't be heartbreaking, but I think he and I are both aware of, like, how fragile life can be, and not just like his job, but like, friends get sick, parents pass away, like shit happens, and we don't like to take things for granted. And he has taught me a lot about that, because he has lost so many things. His upbringing was very different than mine. He had some challenging things in his childhood that, like, I can't even imagine. So when I said earlier that I lived a very charmed life, that now, like, as an adult, when, like, my mom passing away, or, a few months ago, a 21-year-old kid in Fairplay, Colorado plowed into me and totaled my car. Like, I've never, like, experienced things like that until, like, I met him, and he's like, shit happens. Like, it's how you, like, deal with these things.
Sure.
That kind of makes us who we are and makes us stronger. So he's really great for me in that sense, that I'm kind of grounded more with him. And he's also, like you were saying, very aware of his surroundings, in the sense that I am not. So when we've traveled, like, he's very, like, high alert, to the point where I think he's expressed where, it's exhausting for him. And, that's due to his experiences being in the military. But that also makes him hyper aware, in the sense that he does a really good job in the things that he takes on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you guys are at a bar and something happens in the bar, I'm guessing that you're probably going to be the safest person in the room,
I'm sure. Yeah, I know. We joke about that all the time. Like, if we have the zombie apocalypse, we'll be just fine. Yeah.
Totally. But, having that sort of awareness also keeps you present and makes you appreciate the little things in life. And when you say goodbye, I'm not going to see you for a month, you really say goodbye, and you really say, I love you. And you take that extra couple seconds, and you just have a certain understanding that life is finite. It's not going to last forever. And, just who knows what the future looks like.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it, because even though I would not have articulated it that well as you just did, is like, our goodbyes are very special. His homecomings are very special. And even when he's gone, like, we try to make, the texts funny, or, our anniversary was on Monday, and at school, our school secretary walked in with a dozen roses. I was like, how did he get flowers here from Camp 3? Like, I don't know, like, how he even did that, or if that was like a prior order or something. But he is really good. I think we are really good at making each other feel special when we're not like with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy, because like I could easily sit here and be resentful that he's gone again for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I look forward to him coming home, and I have my own life going on at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's got to be a little part of you that's like, it's really badass that I have the husband that's about to summit Mount Everest.
Yeah,
I mean, there's got to be a little something there too.
Yeah, I am not lacking in sharing stories about him by any means. Yeah. And it's like when he suggested me, talking to you, I was like, what am I going to offer? I was like, he interviews all these like badass athletes, and like, I'm here like the wife at home, like, yeah, like Jason's doing awesome things. And he is, but it's so funny because it's like, he sees me as, he's like, don't worry about it, you're a badass too. I was like, well, not in the sense of like running the 240 or climbing Everest. So the fact that he suggested we talk, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So but yeah, I'm not lacking in stories about him, because it's like, what's the next exciting thing that he's going to do?
Well, I would love for you to indulge me in some of those stories that can be told on the air if you have any. But every time he talks about you, he speaks so highly of you and says, yeah, she's such a badass. And he always says that she saved me. She saved my life. Or I think that's how he says it. She saved me. Do you know what that means? Like, is there something deeper there that I don't know about? Or, I mean, I don't want you to share intimate details that shouldn't be shared, but
I mean, I could suspect, responding to you saying that I saved him. I think that's a very grand statement, but I think when he met me, was very jaded in relationships, and he even told me, he's like, I was expecting to be single for the rest of my life. I think what he means by that is that a very driven person who has her own life going on, but I also fully commit myself to him being supportive and my friends and family that he didn't have maybe all the time growing up or in relationships that he had. And I've also, I think he talks about with you, that he hears what I tell him. So if I say like, hey, I notice, you're handling these certain things maybe unhealthily. Like it seems like you're thinking about things that have been hard for you to see in your career in a way that's affecting you, and it's affecting our relationship. So I think in that way, when he says that, like, maybe I saved him, is that he has had opportunities to work on himself, because I told him that I feel like it would be good for you to talk to someone or see a doctor, because this is about us now. It's not just about you. So I think that's maybe where he was going with that. But yeah, when I'm committed 100%. I'm supportive 100%. Like, I pride myself in that. And I love him so much that, like, that's what I want to do. I don't feel like it's a chore. Like him climbing Everest. Yeah, for maybe some partners would be like, absolutely not. I don't want you to do that. It's too dangerous. And like I said earlier, that is what brings him joy. And I get joy in his joy and excitement about things. So
totally.
But as for being a badass, I don't know what he means about that. So
well, I would have to guess that your relationship goes both ways, and he is able to sort of call you out on your stuff. And I mean, that's what a relationship is, of course. You help each other up, and we're all just sort of walking each other home. And when you're down, I try and raise you up, and vice versa. So I would have to guess.
It's not easy to hear that though from him, because he's very direct, to the point where I think I'm just a person who kind of tiptoes around things that are challenging to bring up. And if he, brings something up that's a hard conversation, like, I am the first person to like be defensive. Like, I admit that. But he's also presented that to me, like, you need to stop being so defensive. I'm just bringing this up because this is going to help you, or it's going to help our relationship. And I'm not great at getting critical feedback from him, especially in regards to how I communicate, or how he would like me to communicate, or things he would, like to see me do, or whatever. Things are hard to hear. And so I am also at the same time working on hearing it and not being reactive. And he's taught me a lot in that area.
Yeah. Well, I would also have to guess you guys' communication is coming from two completely different places.
Yep.
Like, I'm guessing his communication with his buddies is extremely direct, and probably, the books that I've read about special forces and team guys, is their sense of humor is so insane because they've seen and done some of the craziest things that they just almost have to laugh about it all. So their sense of humor seems so completely dark to the average person.
Yep.
But so when he's trying to bring that to a relationship, and he's trying to communicate to you, he's got to, I just imagine you guys, like, you have to take it up a level. He has to take it down a level to sort of balance it out.
Yep. That's absolute. I'm laughing as you're talking. I was like, yep. I think there was even some discussions we've gone into before where I'm like, don't talk to me like your guys.
Yeah.
I'm not one of your guys.
Right.
Like, don't like direct me around, or like, just the way things have brought up sometimes. I'm like, dang, like, you need to, like you said, take it down a notch. But in some senses, like with him, like, I've learned to take it up a notch because I am very diplomatic. I'm a people pleaser. I want people to get along. I want us to get along. And good communication, sometimes you're not going to get along. You need to be more direct. So I've learned a lot. And I'm still getting better at that. So
yeah. I mean, it's the same way with me and my wife, but I just picture you guys being like even way more extreme, like 10 times more, like he's way up here and you're way down here. And just trying to find that balance is,
and that going back to how, like, my previous relationships, even like I feel like this relationship with Jason is very fiery, not in a bad way all the time, but like, we are both very opinionated people. And I have strong feelings about things, and as does he. But I think in my relationship with him, I have learned that I have more of a voice that I ever gave myself credit for, and he's like brought that out in me because I've had to. Because if I'm just like, and I think that's what he like loves about me, is that like, I might tiptoe around some things, or I might be a little cautious in the way I say or present things to him, but eventually it's going to come out, and it's going to be, uncomfortable. But we're both learning that like discomfort is just what you get in a relationship, and you have to like understand that it's going to be there. And I think looking at, friends relationships or family members relationships that haven't worked out, that ultimately it comes down to, a lot of times it's communication. One person's not sharing things that they need. If you're not sharing what you need, then you might get resentful, and you're not going to get what you need anyway. So like I said, I'm still working on it. We're still working on it. I think it's just ever evolving. I don't think everyone ever has it figured. No one has it figured out. That's kind of the fun of marriage. It's like you have someone who's committed to you, and you're not worried about them like, giving up and walking out the door in the middle of a fight. It's like, okay, we're fiery right now. And I am guilty of too hard sometimes. Sometimes he needs a break, and he's like, I can't talk right now. Like, I need to be alone. And I don't know if this is stereotypical of women. Like, I can't leave well enough alone. It's like, I need to talk about it right now.
Right.
And for him to not deal with it, I perceive he's not dealing with things that I want him to be thinking about, but he needs to process and then come back to it. So we've had some major discussions about how like I need to honor that, and he needs to honor that for me. So it's finding that balance.
Yeah, I think you guys should get together with me and my wife because there's so many
We should.
similarities here. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I can totally respect that because I'm just like, yeah, sometimes we'll get into an argument and it's like, for me to come at this and present in a healthy way, like I need a little bit of space. I have to step away and sort of just get out of this for a second and take care of myself so that I can bring myself healthily to this relationship, because right now I'm unhealthy. We're going crazy here, right?
Yeah. And I
need to
know
step
in the
away.
moment I'm being unhealthy myself. Like I know it.
Yeah.
I can't like
Yeah.
pull myself away. So,
I mean, we have to take
working on
care
it.
of ourselves first before we can come
Yeah.
to a relationship that's going to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the hard part, but you said it best. Like sometimes being in a relationship is uncomfortable. There's discomfort there. It's just like building a muscle. I mean, to get stronger, you've got to break it down from time to time. And then eventually it gets stronger and bigger. And
Right.
And yeah.
It's hard. And especially like sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I kind of wanted to move on because
Sure.
I know we're getting heavy into the relationship thing, but I just wanted to know, like, what else are we missing about being the spouse of a team guy? Like, I'm sure that there's things behind the scene that a lot of people don't know about, like, pros and cons. I don't know. Anything else you got?
Well, yeah, like I think the pros are I have lived in places that I would have never moved to myself. I have made friends that I never would have met. I have seen a side of the military. I mean, my dad was in the military, but I wasn't from like quote unquote a military family. Like I've experienced being in and around the military and seeing how that, how their job affects themselves, their spouses, the world, the country. It's brought a new respect for me in that sense, having that connection that I didn't have before. I guess the main, I guess if you can say the con is that they're gone a lot, and it takes a really strong person, partner, spouse to be okay with that, because I was talking about earlier, like, working full time and having the dogs, and though we don't have kids, it's like I'm still dealing with life here. That could be stressful in and of itself, but the con going along with that is that it's easy to get or find myself getting resentful sometimes how long they're gone, and to always feel like I can't have or don't want to have the conversations that are hard because I know that's going to affect their mission mindset. So I think those are kind of the cons of it, but at the same time, I think it's made our relationship and our friends' relationships really, really strong, because when you are apart from someone for a while, it's, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's, what people say, but it's really true. If you're committed or we're committed, like, it's so great when they come home and they're home for days or weeks at a time, because it's like you make the most of that time together. So I think those are kind of the main pros and cons.
And I would have to imagine it's made you a lot stronger person as well.
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of a person growing up where I wouldn't just like put myself out to like, I look back and in my 20s, I probably wouldn't even gone to a movie by myself. Like just stuff like that. It's like,
really?
Or I don't know, or like sitting at dinner by myself was like a very foreign thing. And now it's like, I love being by myself. I love going on the trails by myself. I love like just doing whatever I want to do and not having to work around somebody else. But yeah, I think I was just, I don't know, shy, maybe not as daring back then. So
sure. Yeah. Yeah. And no regrets, I'm guessing, either. It seems like you're in a good place. I'm just standing back here like bird's eye view, looking at it seems like you're in a good place and you have no regrets.
Yeah, no regrets. I joke about like
No, sorry, go ahead. I think our connection is a little bit wonky here. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but
Oh, that's okay. I actually forgot what I was going to say, so go ahead.
oh. Where do you see you guys' future? Like, do you see Jason doing these? Did I lose you again? Oh no.
I don't know.
Are you there?
Hopefully,
Okay.
yep,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
No, that's
Yes.
okay.
Our connection's going bad. Okay.
Where
Do you see Jason doing all these crazy adventures and missions for the rest of his life? Or like, do you think that he'll get to a point where he's content and I don't know, ready to, I don't know, settle down's the right word or like,
yeah, I don't see him stopping.
right.
No, it's funny talking about Everest. It's like, okay, what's after Everest? Like you've
Right. Are
done
you
the
gonna go to
Moab
space?
yeah, I joke about that, but at the same time, it's like I told him, I'm like, what is the next thing? Like, I'm getting tired. Like, not tired of him doing things, big things, but it's it is tiring because it's like it affects my life too. And I would love to go on a vacation. Like I told him, I was like, I would just love to do something with you because he's coming back from Everest and going right back into instructing again. And that's my summer off. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing my own thing again. Yeah, I don't see him ever being content with like not having a goal. And I don't know what his retirement's going to look like. I don't think retirement in the sense of retirement is going to be good for him. Like there's going to be other things. But I think, like I said before, like that's what's exciting about a relationship. It's like, what is he doing? Like, I'm very excited to support. Like if he wants to go to South America and go climb in Patagonia, like I am going, like I'm going to do some things with him. But Everest was never something that I was going to go with him with. So this is his thing and I'm glad he's doing it on his own, but yeah, he's never gonna calm down.
I don't think so either. I don't see it. I don't feel it.
No.
This is an interesting conversation for me just because like I admire Jason and his lifestyle and his way of life. And I admire you and the way you support him and the relationship and the dynamic that you guys have and the way you sort of balance each other out. And like I said, I don't know you guys well. It's just my bird's eye view looking down. And I'm like, wow, that's freaking awesome. The way those guys just make it happen. And I think that other people probably look at that too, but you're the one that's in it. You know what I'm saying? You're the one that has to spend a bunch of nights alone while he's off on this mission. And you're the one that has to learn how to have dinner by yourself night after night. But you know, those are the low times, you know, also you get to look forward to him coming home and you guys are closer than ever. And like you say, your hellos and goodbyes are more meaningful than anyone else's hellos and goodbyes. So it's like the highs are really high and the lows are really low. Yeah,
it's really true. Yeah. And it's all mindset too. I think I have a good mindset most of the time. And that's taken practice. Like I could easily sit at home and be angry that he's gone all these months, or I could use that opportunity to like, what am I going to do for myself?
Yeah.
To bring joy to myself when he's not here. And it could be something totally simple. It's like I can work out and eat at any time right now because he's not needing to go to bed at 7:30 because he has to be up at 3. Like I get time to do the things that I really want to do. I get to be super social when he's gone because he's very much a homebody. And I'm like, oh, I have plans with my friends. Like, not that I can't have, you know, time with my friends when he is home, but it's like I fill that time better or, you know, more often. So
I get it. Yeah, we make it work the best we can, right?
Yeah. And I think in the sense too, it's like we by chance just happen to meet each other at the right time in the right place. We have the same passions. He takes on big things, though I take on big things. He supports me too in my endeavors, and that doesn't exist in every relationship. Not everyone does that. So it just so happened that the universe brought us together. So, which is wild to consider, but yeah.
It's crazy the way it all works out, right?
It's really crazy. I know.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
yeah.
What else do you have coming up this summer? Do you personally have any goals, any crazy races, vacations, anything you're looking forward to?
Mostly I'm going to try to knock out some more 14ers this summer.
Nice.
That's my plan. And with him being gone quite a bit, I'm just going to spend as much time on the trails around here, or, as much as possible. I don't have any big trips planned, but we haven't actually lived in Colorado that long. So I feel like living here is kind of a vacation in itself. So I'm going to do some exploring.
Got that right.
I pick up my new car on Monday, so I'm ready to
nice.
Put some miles on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. So nothing major. Maybe I'm toying with one of those trail ultras, but haven't committed yet.
Do you have your eye on any special one?
Not quite. I have a friend who is trying to get me to run, and now I'm totally blanking on the name of it. Doesn't it go from Crested Butte to Aspen? What is that?
Oh, the Grand Traverse.
The Grand Traverse. I was
Nice.
like, that's kind of grand for me to do. And she's like,
no. You got it.
we'll see. So she did it last year, and she's like, I thought it was totally outside my wheelhouse. You could probably do it. I was like, so we'll see.
Okay.
So,
you can definitely do it. I have
100%
faith in you. I'm trying to remember, that race is like 40-ish miles or something like that, maybe.
I think it's 40, and I knocked out almost 20 with Jason last summer, and not to say that was easy, but it's like, if I can do 20, I could do 40.
Easy. Easy. Have you done a lot of the 14ers in Colorado?
I've done only 7 or 8, because when we moved here, it was right when COVID happened. So Jason and I weren't working. So we did a bit of climbing together, and we were doing the the Leadville 100,000 foot challenge.
Yep.
So I was doing that with a friend, and he was doing that too. So did a ton of hikes, a lot of elevation gain that summer. So I think I'm gonna get back into actually summiting more.
Nice.
I don't have any on my list, but I want more than 7. 7's kind of small, so I need to go bigger.
I mean, there's like 50 more you could do. So
I
it's
know.
Like completely, you can just hike forever in Colorado and never get to the end of. You can literally explore forever for a complete lifetime and not even touch the surface of Colorado, I think.
I did a section of the Colorado Trail with a few girlfriends last summer, and I would love to do more sections of that. So we'll see. Yeah, I love playing by ear and just being outside. It's like waking up one day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this today.
Really?
That's how I'm excited about my summer. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. Be spontaneous.
Yep.
Live in the moment. Just wake up and say, oh, I think I want to go to the top of that today. It's going to happen.
Totally. It's the best. And though I didn't grow up around mountains, I've always been very drawn to them. So I'm just beside myself that we get to call this place home. It's
Me too.
Amazing. Yeah.
We're lucky in that sense. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
Well, I live closest to Longs Peak, by outside Rocky Mountain National Park. So if you guys ever have that one on your list, look me up. Let me know. I'd love to take you guys up there.
I need to do it. I know Jason's done it. Okay. Isn't there a face on it, on one side?
Oh, no, it's easy. It's easy. You're going to be fine.
Okay. But is there another? I don't want to do that one. He's already done a crazy one on that one. Okay. But yeah. No,
there are some tough sections on Longs. So he probably went up the North Face. And yeah, that is a little tricky. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough mountain all the way around. It's pretty technical, but it's doable.
I'm not about I climbed that with somebody. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So, yeah, but we would love to meet you guys in person. That'd be awesome.
Well, and if I remember right, Jason's running the Sangre de Cristo 200 later this year. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
are you going to that one too?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay, we'll run into you guys. I'll be there. I can't say that I'm going to be doing anything but crewing, but I will be there.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, we'll make a party out of it one way or another.
Okay. Sounds great.
Well.